for Generation Z, tapping, swiping, and scrolling is about as second nature as breathing.
Hi, I'm Bram van der Groes, and thanks for listening to the Before and After Show, the podcast in which we are zooming in on specific moments in life that brought you further. My personal before and after moment was specifically last year when I was not happy in my job. Fortunately, I was lucky enough that CCV gave me the opportunity to figure out what I really like to do. I have to say it was quite a challenge and I had to do a lot of puzzling, but eventually I knew what to do. Make podcast. Podcast about personal stories, personal journeys, but most important, your personal events. These specific moments in life that brought you further. My manager loved the idea and said, go. So, enjoy this episode while walking, sitting, running, sleeping, or however you like to listen to podcasts. And let's start. In one of our previous episodes, Sundo's co-founders Jacob and Victor mentioned a potential next guest for the show, but after the recordings they reached out to me and suggested another interesting guest. And that's the guest of today's episode. I do see why they advised him as a next guest, because at an age of 20 years old he already started several companies. In this episode we will talk about his story and how he got to these companies. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to introduce Jotte Mallisse.
Hi, hi,
Hey,
thanks for having me.
hi Jotte, welcome to the show and thanks for joining. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm fine as well. I think you had a busy period behind you, so we are going to talk about that. But first, let's start with some yes or no questions. And the idea behind this is that you can only say yes or no to the question, and later on during this conversation, you will be able to explain a bit further. All right. Let's start with the first question. Fiverr will buy my latest company in 5 years.
Yes,
Not the other way around?
we can be a little optimistic. No, no, no. This way is fine.
All right. You better follow the Gen Z generation, otherwise you'll lag behind.
Yes, definitely.
And the generation after Gen Z, the Alpha generation, will be totally different than Gen Z.
Yes.
All right, these were the answers. Now let's zoom in on these questions a bit further later on. But maybe it's a good idea that you start to introduce yourself a little shortly.
Okay, hi, my name is Jotte. I live in Belgium and I study in Leuven. I am my third year studying at the University of Leuven, where I study business engineering. And I have already founded two small startups, and now my third startup, Zoomers. I like doing things. I like to cross outside the lines. I don't like to wait inside the line. So I, of course, the doing things like the startups I already founded is a natural spin-off of the way I think and the way I see things as a student and most importantly as a Gen Z member.
All right. And what's your link with Jacob and Victor from Sundo?
Um, First of all, they are my friends. I knew them growing up here in Kortrijk. And then last year, I also followed an internship that was linked with my studies, where I was to study nudging, the principles around nudging, and how to use it applied to the spot spots they probably talked about in the previous episodes.
Absolutely, they did. And for the listener, what's nudging? What can you do with it?
So the most famous example of nudging is you have an elevator and right next to it the stairs, and then so we're gonna put footsteps towards the stairs to nudge people into the right direction, to encourage people to take the stairs instead of the elevator. So two important things with a nudge. First of all, so the people that are being nudged can't be aware of the fact that they are effectively being nudged. So it has to happen fully unconsciously. Second of all, it has to be nudge for good. So the godfathers of nudging, they call their book Nudge for Good. So the idea is to nudge people into something which will lead into better decisions in terms of health, in terms of well-being. Um, so Of course, there are a lot of commercial nudges. Don't leave the shopping cart. Please stay with us. Cookies and banners like that.
Yeah.
But the nudge for good principle is actually to steer people toward making better choices for themselves or for the community they're in. So applied to the smart spots, it would simply be okay, use a smart spot because the sunscreen is important. It's important that you wear sunscreen.
Hmm.
It's an important decision. So if you walk by, we give you a little nudge to use the smart spots to ethically use the sunscreen. And that way we hope that you made a better health decision, although not knowing that we steered you into that decision.
Exactly. But then before it will work, you need to try it, I guess, right? How does that
Yes,
work?
so that is where I came in to design Nudge and then to, of course, to test the Nudge with some other universities to test the data and to ethically ask ourselves, did the Nudge work? Yes or no?
Very interesting, and especially when you are using it for the good, not for
Nudge
the
for
commercial.
good.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. So, okay, so you did that for them, and afterwards you stopped there, and yeah, you're busy enough, I guess, and you're
Yeah,
still studying, right?
yeah. So actually now we're talking about taking them on as a client to do their marketing. So it's funny how the roles are changing with our partnership, if you can call it that way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really funny. And yeah, yeah, like you said before, you're in the third year now studying.
Yeah,
20 years old, is that correct?
21.
21. All right.
Yes.
Still very young. But when we were having our pre-interview, you already mentioned that you were also in the board of your football team, right?
Yeah, well, it's nice to be still be like connected. So this was my youth soccer team where I played from age 4 to till 16, 17. And then when I went to study, and of course with YT clothing that I founded in that year, it was hard to keep up with everything. So I had to make a decision and made a hard decision to quit playing soccer. But now I do their marketing. We bring on sponsors. Look how we can satisfy those sponsors, those partnerships, building the team. So it's very nice to be on the other side. And of course, to keep connected with the club that you loved so many years.
Yeah, yeah, and that you played so many times for. I can imagine that. Yeah, that's a really noble thing. But was it easy to get in, or did you propose it yourself?
Well, actually, they asked it because when I was busy with YT design, we did marketing and videos and web design. And they knew me from when I played there, and then they asked, "Hey, can you make a proposal for a season in which we need because we need cool pictures with the scores, with the lineup, keep the community busy and attracted to us." So we first took them on as a client, and then that evolved into me being closer involved with the team itself. But they're still our client as well.
And what's the ambition there? Do you want to be? Do you wait for Abramovich to buy the club, or?
Definitely not. I think the ambition should always be having fun. We're not the next Ajax, we're not the next big team, we're not the next Manchester United or something.
Yeah,
We're a local club, and our headline is "My team, my friends." So of course, no one likes to lose, but the main goal should be having fun, um, and enjoying the game. Really, I think that's the most important thing about being a local club.
did you want to do this when you were little, or did you dream of other things?
When I was little, I didn't know what I want to become. I still don't know. I'm happy the way things are now. Um, of course, I can't see myself working in a giant organization where I have the feeling that I am just another one of the crowd, and I want to have things in my own hand. So in that way, I want to keep on evolving the business I have now and growing in that. Um, but I really don't see where I will be in the next 5 years, 10 years. I have to grow, but it has to be healthy and it has to be step by step.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a great mindset, without too much pressure on your shoulders, and to make sure that you enjoy what you are doing, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's some wise. These are some wise words for for a guy from 21 years old. Where did you get that?
Well, wisdom isn't an age, of course.
Yeah, so true.
No, just
Um,
kidding, just kidding.
no, but and like I said in the introduction, Jacob and Victor mentioned your name, but they mentioned another name as well, and I think that's one person you know. It was Jonas Mallisse. There is a relation between you, I guess, right?
Yes, so Jonas is my cousin,
Yeah.
um, and I'm the only child in my family. So I don't have any brothers or sisters. So Jonas has always been like the big brother figure, the big brother I never had.
Mm.
And then he started Too Good To Go, the app against food waste, a couple of years ago here in Ghent. Uh, and at the meantime, now he's traveling the states, looking for new cities to launch Too Good To Go in there. And I think his story is very inspirational for me. It's one of the main reasons I got into entrepreneurship to start with, and especially to I got into sustainable or social entrepreneurship because of him. I started thinking about, okay, only making money as a company won't cut it anymore. I think you have to be. It's an easy mindset, you know. Just make sure you have a good positive impact on your environment as a company, whether that's socially or environmentally.
Mm.
I think the message is plain and simple, that it's not all about your sole goal shouldn't have to be money or profit. I think if your product or service is good and the team is good, then profit and money will always be a result and not the main goal.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll follow. Um, and I think you, because you mentioned that he was really an inspiring a person for you. But how did he inspire you to start for yourself? How was that?
Well, in many ways, he showed me first of all that it's possible to work hard and to play hard, to also make sure you have a lot of time left, and especially for me, that's important being a student as well, that I still have plenty of time to actually be a student. Um, so he taught me that, and of course he taught me that, but that's something that was already inside us, that we don't have to listen to what the bigger crowd are saying. Don't to the general opinion. Sometimes it's good to take a step back or to take a step sideways and say, maybe we should try it this way. And then if it works, we're so motivated in the things we do. If you want it, if you really want it, I think um, you could be surprised of the capabilities each person has. If it is truly the passion or truly the drive to change something, I think you can never underestimate the power of being motivated by those factors.
Yeah, and uh, eventually these this inspiration and yeah, this the things you are saying right now resulted in your first company, right?
Yes, so at that time here in Belgium, there were a lot of like climate strikes. People from high school skipping school every Thursday to go into the streets and protesting, um, making sure to wake up the politicians here in Belgium. Um, and while those strikes were happening, I was reading an article about the fashion industry and how polluting it was. I read about Rana Plaza, a factory collapse in 2013 in Bangladesh, and I never imagined I, the impact, the sustainable, environmental impact fashion has, and especially fast fashion has. Of course, I knew that going on a vacation, going by plane, yeah, okay, that is bad for the uh, carbon emissions. But I never knew that my white T-shirt, because I always wore white T-shirts, I never knew that they were actually even more polluting. If you see the industry as a whole, was way more polluting than the airplanes I was traveling with to go on vacation. So at the time, I was really shocked by that, and then I looked for alternatives, looked for sustainable brands that sold white T-shirts.
Hmm.
But the problem there was they were out of my range of budget as a student. I really had to watch my spendings, and so I couldn't find any alternative. I couldn't find a good solution. So I thought maybe the solution is to make them myself, and then that's how YT, coming from a white tee but pasted together, YT clothing was found when I was in my first year at university.
And
So
and
already
uh,
2 years ago.
and did they support it, the university, or was it totally separate and didn't they have to do anything with it?
They didn't like the university. No, there are a lot of organizations and communities that are willing to help, especially help student founders, people that are still studying and founded a company. There's a lot of people willing to help you and willing to give advice and to make sure that you can grow. Um, University did also. It's not really their job. It would be quite impossible for them to support every student that had a great idea. Although it would be so great and it would be so good, but I think the organizations that are in place right now to really focus on helping students entrepreneurs with their projects and their plans. I think those can bring the most value uh, when you're a student and you're starting a company.
And did one of these organizations help you and support you then?
Yes, so we're here in Kortrijk. You have Start.k, which is a small community building around student entrepreneurs. But of course, in Ghent in Belgium, you have Entrepreneur. Uh, in every major student city, there's an organization helping students who just founded their own company. Um, Also, because most of them actually have a good idea. Most of them come from a point where they like frustrated with something that isn't here right now, with supply and demand basically. And from our perspective as a student, it could be interesting points of view and interesting ways to approach problems.
Hmm.
So I don't think it's coincidence that it's supported so much, and then a lot of investors are actually waiting to invest in just tech startups and things like that, being founded by students. And yeah, I think it's a smart way of both. It's smart for the organizations to help students, founders uh, evolve and grow and with advice and community building. The other way around, of course, for us, it's very nice to have advice and and a place you can go really for everything you need because you're new to this. You know the local pub, you know where the library is, but you don't know where to go for funding if you need 3 million in tech investment. So yeah, I think it's a win-win for both parties really.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine that. And because yeah, the fashion world was totally new for you, right?
Yeah, I never took an interest in fashion. I wasn't the most fashionable guy of school. Which is exactly why I always wore a white t-shirt and a jeans, because it was easy.
Yeah.
And so no, it wasn't like any passion, but as soon as I saw the impact the industry had, uh, I became more and more obsessed with and motivated by for changing the way things work. It's very hard to grasp how difficult and how polluting the industry is, um, because we don't see it. Uh, if you take, for example, food, a burger in McDonald's, you can easily track the supply chain. Okay, so
Hmm.
the lettuce is coming from the farmer, the beef is coming from a beef farm there, and so everything you can track back easily. But with fashion, the problem is there are so many steps in the process of making textile or making clothing, which is even more steps than textile. So when Rana Plaza collapsed in 2013, most major brands didn't even know if they had orders standing out there in Rana Plaza, if they were responsible for the collapse. So they actually had to look in to find tags, to find clothing tags, so to like, okay, who's responsible or partly responsible for the way things worked in this factory and for the reason why it collapsed at all. So that was a major problem. All those big brands not knowing their supply chain, not knowing the bad things happening underneath the supply chain, where you can't imagine how many, still up to today, how many child labor and underpaid and not insured, and it's yeah, it's annoying for me. It's frustrating because if you see a T-shirt hanging in the shop and it's only cost you $3,
Hmm.
then we as a consumer we think, okay, nice, this is the way to go. It's cheap and that's exactly what I need. While I'm thinking, okay, $3, considering the whole supply chain with all the steps I just talked about, and they sell it with a profit for $3, then it's the most logical way that the people underneath that supply chain earn nothing at all, because how could you if at the end it has to be sold for $3 with a profit, so
Yeah.
already hanging in the store, where they pay rent for, where people are being paid to give you advice and everything, even discounts. We are so used to having 50% or more discounts on our clothing, which is a bad thing because we all think, oh, that's nice, we have a 50% discount. While I'll think, yeah, but then the whole year you've been paying 50% too much for that piece of clothing.
Yeah.
So it's really a mind shift really as a consumer to be more knowledgeable about where our clothing came from. And then the most important message, I guess, is buy less and but buy better. And of course, buy secondhand. I think secondhand fashion is on the rise, and you
Yeah.
can see that in everything. Uh, it is growing more and more every year. So I think second fashion is the most easy answer to the polluting industry, because it's hard to make it fully sustainable as well. So I would say second-hand fashion, and then of course buy less, but buy better.
Yeah. And so that's the goal when you started with YT clothing.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. And so a whole new world opening for you. um, how did you proceed? I mean, yeah, like you said, you didn't know anything about it, so you need to learn about it. You need to find the right people.
Yeah, I think finding the right people and finding the right advice, more importantly, is the way you should go. Um, and then of course allow yourself to make mistakes. Beginning, I made mistakes. You don't know who's the best supplier yet, what supply chain is best for you, what business model is best suited for the niche you're entering. Um, and that's fun about being a student founder, about starting a company at a small scale as your first company. You're allowed to make mistakes, and you're allowed to learn from that as well. So that really helped me up to today, where to I'm grateful to have learned from those mistakes and to have made those mistakes. Um, because as I think as an entrepreneur, it's so nice for you to be allowed to be making mistakes, because the risk is so little. You're still studying. It's not like you need to provide for a family. It's not that you have loans of millions of dollars, you're in a quite easy situation, to say it like that,
Hmm.
or you can just do your thing and see where it brings you, and see where the growth brings you, and then again step by step and in a healthy way.
Yeah, and when you're saying finding the right people, I mean that's about trust as well. You need to trust the right people, I guess, and then to trust in the fact that you will proceed in a good way. Because
Yeah,
I think it's that could be tricky as well, right? I mean, if you are in fashion, uh, yeah, and it's so yeah, it's a messed up industry, like you said.
yeah.
Then how do you find the right people to make sure that everybody is treated well, etc.?
Well, I think the wisdom is in the crowd. So just by asking a lot of people, and most importantly a lot of different people, um, how they think about it, I think that is the most valuable thing, um, for getting advice on general things. Of course, if you're really have specific questions, then you should build like a board of advisory, or like little expert groups and consult them. Um, but when launching my first collection, I just asked as many people as I could, showed them some pictures, and really wrote down their feedback. Um, because one thing about getting advice is that in the beginning, people are confident, people are positive, people see things the way you want them to see it. But I think the most valuable feedback is actually, or advice is actually, what you're not hoping. the advice or the feedback to be just a whole other way of seeing things and seeing things negatively. I think that feedback and that kind of advice really helps you forward, and even more than just a, oh wow, that's so nice. Oh yeah, well I definitely buy a T-shirt from you. Just let me know when you launch. Instead, you should say, okay, no, I wouldn't buy the T-shirt because that's the reason why. Um, so, in many of my when I ask advice, I always ask them feedback first, and then when the feedback is too good, I really will ask him, okay, but what is not good? And then I'm mostly most important of all, I'm interested in the things that aren't good and that aren't the way that I see it, what should it be? And I think that is the most valuable feedback to get out of people
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah, but you that's hard for a lot of people, I guess. So
Yeah,
did you learn this, or how did you get to this?
yeah. Eventually they will if you just keep stressing the fact that you want them to be as honest as possible. If you want them to be as critical as possible, eventually you'll get the honest and the valuable feedback. But then again, it's also us Belgians, we aren't used to speaking our mind and to being brutally honest. So if you stress it enough and if you're really comfort comfortable with each other and you really trust each other, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But what was the biggest learning? Can you share one?
Phew, from YT clothing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Because that was the first company you started,
yeah,
right?
uh, being careful about my stock, maybe planning things more beforehand because as being a sustainable company, you want as little leftover stock as possible because
Hmm.
you don't want to give the high discounts. So first of all, with the new collection, I'm promising myself and every customer, you will never get a discount from us for the sole reason that we believe that the price is fair. And if we wanted to give discounts, we could ask at least $10 more for every T-shirt, and then we could build a system where people get discounts all the time if they subscribe to our newsletter or like 4 periods a year when it's sale. Um, but I will never give a discount because I believe, which is the way it should be. If you believe it's a fair price, it should be that price. You don't go
Yeah.
to the grocery store expecting you're paying 2 3 times too much for an apple or for your bread. So why not for your clothing? So just the pricing system has to be good, and I think that would be the main lesson. So to stop having leftover stock, don't try to sell it at high discounts. Look for a better way to make them donate them or I don't know make them make sure it has a better use than just being sold at the discounts because the people that are selling them buying them those high discounts they don't really care about your brand, they don't really care about um, why you do it, they just care about oh the price tag is
Hmm.
40% discount. If they would have cared so much they would have bought it already.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. How do you spread that story from white design clothing?
It's hard, especially the last year in COVID. It has been completely shut down because I was busy with the other startup, and of course the companies were in lockdown as well. So our latest collection is fully made in Portugal, but of course I want to see the production site. I want to see the cotton fields. I want to see the way it's done. Because otherwise, I wouldn't be any different than all the major brands, not knowing where the supply chain is at and not knowing how it's been made. And that has been hard due to COVID, not traveling there and not seeing everything that I want to see. Um, then of course, as a minor fashion brand, it's so hard to knock your way in and compete against the big brands. So that was, I think, the hardest thing to do, and it's still the hardest thing actually to just make sure people buy why you do it and what you stand for as a brand and not precisely what it is, because
Hmm.
at the end it's just white t-shirts. So
Yeah, yeah.
people have to be inspired by the why and why do we sell white t-shirts and not the white t-shirt as
Yeah,
just. a fast fashion product.
Yeah, that's true. And how do you? What kind of channels do you use to spread that word?
Well, we started off, of course, being just a web shop with the Instagram and Facebook. But then, of course, I also want to make sure people can buy the clothes physically to put them on, to try them on. We were developing also a digital fitting room where people could scan themselves and have it AR, being seeing the heat maps of the T-shirt where it's gonna be too tiny or where it's gonna be bigger. So you actually have a good way of visualizing, even though it's bought online, visualizing whether or not the fit will be right. Because of course we need to watch our shipping and our returns. Then of course I also want to sell them physically, but also same story as I already told COVID. Uh, because of COVID, we couldn't bring our stocks sell our stocks to the brick and mortar, the local brick and mortar, because of course they were in trouble as well.
Okay, so COVID was a blocking issue
A deal
for
breaker, but it
yeah.
has been for so many.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But what did it do with you? For you, did you stop with focusing on YT, or did you think, okay, I'm just going to sit back and see what happens, or what was your
Yeah.
mindset there?
So at the time in March, um, the new collection was being shut down because the factory was in lockdown. We couldn't sell to the brick and mortars anymore. Um, but then I saw a lot of people in the area, small companies, struggling because of lockdown. They didn't had a web shop. They didn't had the design and the digital assets they needed to brand themselves to the market. And of course, I made the web shop for YT Clothing, and I made the logo, and I was used to some graphic design because I designed the t-shirts. So then I thought, okay, why not help them, and why not start a little agency um, that does web design, web shop development, graphic design, and a little bit of marketing for those small companies that are actually needing it right now. Because at the time, going to a big agency wasn't possible because the waiting lists were so long. They had so many clients already, and that they couldn't. So then we had a lot of small, like the local grocery store, like the local pastry stuff like that, and then we grew into it. So that's how YT Design started, the small
Mhm.
agency of web design agency. Up to a couple of months ago, really, when it's now Zoomers, um, having 20-ish clients with at least one project for every client. So it has grown a lot over the last year. So like I
Yeah.
said, COVID brought trouble for YT Clothing, but it was very good for YT Design because of course everyone was in need of a website, of a web shop, or was in need of a new logo or some marketing on Instagram and Facebook. So I really had made the best of the situation, and YT Design has grown so much since then, where I'm now fully occupied being a web design agency and a marketing agency right now.
And did you start all by yourself, or did you do it together? Did you hire people for specific things?
I started by myself, but then I already had the vision then um, to take on students because of course all the students were at home as well, and they couldn't do their student job anymore. Um, and there were a lot of students just like me seeing the opportunity and wanting to work actually. So then I brought on some students, one developer, one guy that was very good at making videos and editing videos. And then that grew as they came, in which we are now have a team with at least 5 students and 3 students who are actually freelancers as well and became freelancer over the last year. Um, and that was also the reason and or the inspiration to start Zoomers to have Generation Z bringing you those services because of course uh, they are the experts or we are the experts. I think I never have to sell the idea that we're the right people for it because Merriam-Webster, which is like a known dictionary in the UK. They gave it a definition of Gen Z, and then you have a sentence for Generation Z. Tapping, swiping, and scrolling is about as second nature as breathing, uh, which this one sentence fully shows people why Gen Z should be considered when thinking about making a website, because we grew up with a smartphone, we grew up with social media, we saw it grow, we saw it change, we saw our parents getting onto Facebook and onto Instagram, which we weren't used to back then. We saw the rise of TikTok, we saw the coming and going of Clubhouse, everything that's new and really cool, if you had to say it like that, like really trendy at the moment. We know how it's done, and we know what's the deal. Um, so I think then when a company is having trouble hiring new people because people just don't want to work for the company because their employer branding isn't just that attractive enough for Gen Z. And I
Hmm.
think that who's better than actually Gen Z helping them to make them more attractive for our generation and to make it um, look more trendy and up to date.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. If it
I
does.
think so too.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so. Yeah, for you. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, so um, you started with YT clothing, then YT design.
Yeah,
Now you have Zoomers.
yeah.
Did you always work for yourself, or did you also work for for an employer at one point?
I worked at pub in 4 years, so that was my previous student job.
Yeah.
And so I know what the hassle and the burden of a student job can be, really working your ass off for not that much money. So it's really nice to see that doing this, I can do something that I'm actually hopefully good at, where I'm having fun, which what I'm enjoying, and then also happen to make a little bit money from it. So that is very nice to do, of course, and that's also the reason why so many students are willing to work for us is they can do a job where they actually have a meaning, where they can make impacts, where they can build things that are actually being used by professional people and companies, which is so much more fun as a student than flipping burgers in McDonald's. And I think we should we should really change the mindset around, especially in other countries, the mindset about how valuable students can be in a professional context. And I think that's where Zoomers come in, because we can be so valuable in the professional context in terms of Gen Z marketing and web design, uh, or really the stuff that requires like young people to be involved with it and to actually future proof your business. So if you really want it to be future proof, then you have to build it, let it be built by the future generation, I guess, and then really have
Hmm.
to trust their way of seeing things and their vision. Um, so that's where I'm hoping the shift will be, where companies be more knowing about the value students can offer to their company and about the value their way of seeing things and their mindset can bring to a company, which applies to many industries, not only the web design or marketing industry. I think there's many industries that can profit from from students being involved with the process or the company or the brand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Um, when you started with Zoomers, yeah, well, the step before was of course YD design, but when you started with this, um, you helped the people in your network. But how do they feel about this concept? Because is this a totally new concept? Is this unique in Belgium or broader?
But up to today, I don't know any other company that only works with students or their full employees, or only students or student freelancers or freelancers beneath the age of 26, so
Hmm.
Gen Zers, Zoomers actually. So up to today, I don't know any company being that way. Of course, there are some um, companies hiring or letting them like sending out students to companies, but we're not like a middleman. We are a company, and we
Hmm.
happen to exist fully out of students and young people. So up to today, I think we're the only one. If someone knows another company, let me know. I think we can learn so much from each other and have a talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good idea. And so, if there are listeners who know, just let me know or let Jotte know directly. I will add something in the show notes for that.
Perfect.
Um, but that's interesting. But okay, so this is quite new. Um, but how do companies feel when you enter with only students?
Yeah. So that's the thing. We don't have to be imposters. We don't have to act like we're grown-ups in the sense that we're 40-year-olds people with suits walking in with a whole legal team behind them and everything. I don't think that's the point. Uh, I think most of our clients actually they have to want to work with young people. They have to trust our vision and they have to trust and then believe in our reason why. And that's the first thing we ask every new client when starting a project. Do you believe in the vision why we think we're a good partner for your company? And if that answer is yes, we want to work with young people. We know the benefits. We know also where it could be tricky. I think when that is specified beforehand, before starting the project, that's of course the first rule actually in before entering a new partnership.
Hmm.
But it's fun to see that a lot of companies find their way to us because they really want to work with students or young people. They are fed up with the way agencies or platforms or classic freelancers work. They really want to shift things and to take a whole new direction. And then there it's cool to see that clients actually are looking for the things that we're for the vision that we're offering.
Hmm. Yeah, so they need to be open, but when they are open, they are really enthusiastic about the
Yeah,
things you are doing.
of course. If you're expecting a company with offices around Belgium, and you're not gonna find it with us, which shouldn't be the point. There are a lot of agencies that are being that way. Um, so when I find a new client or a new client find its way to us, we need sure to be. I need to sell our vision and our reason why. Like I don't need to sell our services because I trust that quality of our services is good. I love the work we've done. We're really proud of all the things we've accomplished up to now. So I don't need to sell the things we've done because of I believe in the fact that it's great and we're doing a good job and we're delivering good projects. What I need to do as a founder of the company is I need to sell the vision and the reason why. And then if they're interested in the vision and if they're interested in the reason why we think Gen Z is the best person and the best place to do those services, then we can take a look at our portfolio and the things and the project we've done. But I let it speak for itself. Like I said, I'm really proud of the work we've already accomplished. Um, with our team of students and with our team of young creative people. So I believe that has to be the order. It has to be the vision and the reason why in the first place, and then to see how can we help you as a partner in the second place.
Hmm. Yeah, so that you are aligned and you can
Yeah,
continue with the same
if
mindset.
if you want to do creative work, if you want to have a good partnership, you have to be aligned beforehand, of course, because otherwise nothing good will come from it.
Yeah. And do companies sometimes tell you, okay, but why shouldn't I just hire an intern for 6 months and then they can do it for us?
Yeah, but of course, hiring an intern is of course its nature is temporary because it's an
Hmm.
intern. You have to like educate the intern about the company culture and stuff like that. Um, but of course, you can hire the intern, and then it was a good way of doing it. But for a lot of companies, hiring, first of all, finding the good intern or finding the
Hmm.
talent is hard. It's everyone needs creative designers or needs creative people right now. So first of all, finding it is very expensive and it's very hard. Then educating and making sure the intern is being part of the company is very time consuming and so also very expensive. And after all, you're not even sure if the intern is willing to stay or if it will go on. So we're offering sustainable partnerships in the sense
Hmm.
that we can be your partner for more than 1 year, and we can grow with you. So if your company grows and the internship was good the first year, then you already have to look for 2 or 3 more internship the next year. So and it continues more and more, and so hopefully you grow. And that's the cool thing about Zoomers is that we hope to have the next 3 years so many students that we can really grow with you. We can make teams, and of course we're flexible. As students, we don't work 9 to 5. Some of us like to work at night. Some of us prefer to work at the weekends because in the weekdays they're studying or partying too much. And I think that the flexibility we can offer as a student to companies in which it is useful having a fast turnaround. It's one of the advantages we have just by the nature in which we're working.
Yeah. How do you find the right people?
So the students, the Zoomers,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So that we're picky on that because of course we're like I said we're proud of the work we've done. There's a certain quality standard that I want to keep. I don't want don't want people to think that because it's the projects are done or being handled by students or young people, the quality will suffer. I think it just should be the other way around in the things we do. So I'm really picky with hiring new students. But there are so many whiskets out there. You couldn't imagine willing to turn their experience into something actually like a jobish, like actually make money from it, building their network, building their professional relationships. But it's hard. We really have to go to the right schools, being in the right cities, being in the right place, being where the students are. So even when I'm going out with friends, I'm always thinking about uh, talking to people, to students, talking about the way I think and how we work. So
Yeah,
it's a never-ending thing. But that's just one of the things that I love about my job actually.
yeah, yeah. I can imagine. And you're 24/7 recruiting in that sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I'm a student myself, so everyone I talk
yeah,
to is just a headhunter for me, and it's way cheaper. I just pay them one beer, and they're my personal headhunter. So, um, yeah, I think words travel fast as well because
hmm,
of social media. If you have the right network, and you just know a lot of students, then I know everyone that works with us should be, hopefully, is a living headhunter because they love and enjoy their job so much. And when students or friends of them are complaining about going to their student job or having to find a student job, then they should go in and oh hey, but I'm working this really cool young company and I love it. And then we go to that and then I made a brochure which has been printed like 50,000 times for that company, and then so they actually using my design and they liking it, and they loving it,
yeah,
and what did you do? And oh, I want that. So that's the like the atmosphere and the culture I want to have
yeah,
with the Zoomers working here with us.
yeah, yeah. Of course. And how big do you want to go? Because when you are working with students, are they on the paycheck or how does it work?
Yeah, so they are on the
Is it?
paycheck. So they're actually registered as a student job, just like they would
Hmm.
do for any other company. But we don't pay them full time. So because they are students, we can't. So it's just project based, which is an advantage for us because it's very low overhead,
Yeah,
which makes us competitive as well, even against the bigger agencies or the bigger platforms. Um, but my goal is to be like the yes or no question. I want Fiverr to be jealous of us in the next 5 years. So I really want to make a platform where companies, where people can find their way to Zoomers for their creative needs. So simple as that. I need a video, I need a website, I need something creative out of a GenZ, and I really think, like I said, I'm sold with the vision and the idea that the Gen Zers are the perfect people to do it. And okay, you go to the platform and you post your job, and immediately the Zoomers will be there with project proposals and the answers you're looking for.
Yeah.
Um, but then again, with us as a company, as being Zoomers, making sure the quality is still there. So that's where the problem with the most of the platforms now, 99 Designs, Fiverr, Upwork, you accept the reviews. You don't know anything about that person.
Yeah.
Um, Most of the times, he or she is at the other side of the world. Um, Most of the times, you're not happy with what is being delivered, or there are pain points. So, by localizing the way we communicate and by having a very high quality standards, we're taking away the disadvantages of a major platform, but we can still scale it because, of course, it is a platform. We can still scale it to other countries as well.
Yeah.
Because, of course, if I want to really want to sell my vision of Gen Zers being the perfect people to do it, I can't do it as an agency, but I has to do it as a platform so I can broaden that vision to other markets and to other countries as well.
Yeah. And that you don't have that platform right now, right? That's the next step for you.
Yeah, so right now we're building the platform because, of course, um, I'm really careful with VC capital or high investments and things like that. Um, because actually I'm still studying, so I don't want to do it at our own pace. But of course, in 2 3 years, hopefully we'll need the VC capital we're looking for. We hopefully will need the investors and the partners, the business angels we're looking for. But right now, I'm still building it because um, I wanted to have actually tokens as well that are being run on the blockchain. So that takes a lot of work beforehand and a lot of research beforehand for it to be right and to be profitable and the way we want it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, our community has to be large enough. You can't start a platform with only 20 students. So at the end of this year, I'm hoping to have 50 students who are weekly doing work for us, 20 freelancers as well. Then, of course, in 3 years, when the platform is there, I'm hoping to have a community of at least 1,000 students and 1,000 clients using it as well. Because if your community is strong enough, then the platform will be used and it will grow so much more easier because the foundation, the community on which it is built, is already so strong. So that's for me that's very important. Um, if you're going to build an online marketplace, you have to build it on a strong community and not the other way around. Um, that would be just a waste of investments and money.
Yeah. Yeah, the great thing here is, I guess, because building up communities that could be difficult, but the great thing here is that you already start doing it.
Yeah,
You are already building your community. You're already recruiting all your students to work for you, and then you have and you are checking if they are good enough,
yeah. So
and from there on you can continue.
yeah, so
So
that's
yeah,
why I'm not eager to like dive into the platform and make sure it's ready in the next. That's why I talk about being a platform in the next 3 years. Because, like I said, if you wanted to build an online marketplace, you have to make sure you can trust the community, and then that of course you have proof of concept, and then the people are actually willing to use the platform. Um, and at that point, it will be necessary as well, because at that point, scaling um, things will have to be necessary. If you're with a team of 1,000 students, you have to digitalize and you have to be a platform and not the typical agency that we are right now.
hmm yeah. So the next generation is already ahead, the alpha generation. What are you going to do with that?
Yeah, starting a new company called Alpha. No, no. Um, yeah, but so if you most sources talk about Gen Z being from 1990, 1995 up until 2010. So we already have 10-year-olds being the Alpha generation. So we still have a small 10-year gap before those come to play. But the main difference between Generation Alpha and Generation Z um, is that we lived in the digital transition. We've seen it grow. We've seen, and most importantly, we've seen people not being used to it. We used to our grandparents or even our parents not being used to the new technology and not being trusted with the new technology, which is changing more and more. More and more boomers or X of Y generations are loving TikTok and are loving blockchain and cryptocurrency and loving the new developments. Then, of course, the alpha generation will be the first new employees once our Zoomers will be too old to, and then they'll be old enough to leave the nest and look for other opportunities and challenges in their life, which I hope they will, by the
Exactly.
way.
Yeah, yeah. And with Zoomers, they can have a good start. But again, can you define? Do you already see a big difference then between Generation Z and Z and Alpha,
I
or
think
is it too early?
I think it's too early to say. I think it's hard to have um, an intellectual conversation like that with a 10-year-old. Although I think even if it would be any other topic, you could feel a difference. Um, but even yeah, they're even more used to their phones, I guess, even more busy with games and everything like that because we were in the transition phase. Um, a lot of my friends and even me, the classic story was you're not allowed yet to have a smartphone, or you're not allowed yet to have a PlayStation or an Xbox, or you're not allowed to play those games. But now we love those games and those things so much, we won't, or we will less be. Will There won't be a boundary there anymore. We won't say to our kids, okay, you can't do that and that, or at least it will be less than the way we were taught it.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm a 37-year-old, so I can't imagine. But but talking about my age, when I'm applying at your company, what do you say to me? It's a no, right?
Right now, it's a no. Um, don't get me wrong. I really believe in the value of experience, and especially when giving business advice or advice on itself. I really believe in the power that other generations have to offer and have to bring to the table to Zoomers. Um, but right now we don't need it, because we can build and do enough for the students we have. And of course, when you have the platform, of when we have the scalability issues, or when you have a lot of funding, we'll need a full-time team that is actually big enough to support the platform as well. And there, of course, I don't see any reason why not to hire older generations, or older people in general. Um,
Hmm.
if what they bring to the table is interesting for Zoomers, then I don't see any reason why age could be a problem there.
Yeah, yeah. You're talking really inspiring about your company and all the things you're doing, but you're studying. I almost forgot that you're still studying.
Yeah, yeah.
How about that? What are you going to do with that?
So I'm lucky that I kind of found a balance, and of course, the last year all the lectures were being taped, and so we can take courses on our own time. And
Hmm.
then, but of course, there's 3 months a year where I can't do any work because I'm studying. But that's a cool thing about studying at university here in Belgium, is that you don't actually have to go. Um, you can study the way that it's working for you. If you don't want to go to every course or every college, um, every lesson, then you don't have to. If at the end, if you're past your exam, then it's fine. And then how you did it, of course, legally how you did it. I'm not saying
Yeah.
you should cheat or anything, but and the way you did it doesn't really matter. So I have found a good balance in there where I can't do any work 3 months of the year, and then the other months I'm working a lot. Um, but it's hard. It's always a temptation to just stop studying and to focus full time on because if I really want to, I could. Um, it's been very busy, so I could perfectly work full time for Zoomers right now. Um, But then of course you have your environment saying no, get that degree. It's 2 more years. So what is 2 years compared to the rest of your life? And of course clients as well. Actually clients that said to me, no, you should study because it was the best times of our life and it was the best period of our life. So I don't want to miss that as well. I don't um, want to deny myself the things you do while studying,
Hmm.
because I really don't want to look back in 20 years uh, complaining that I've worked too much at a young age, at a too young age. So um, finding the balance between working hard but also having fun as a student and studying um, worked for me the past year, but of course it was COVID as well. So let's find out what the next year brings.
But you still want to finish it,
Yeah,
if I understand you correctly.
right now I'll want to finish it. I rather hire a full-time employee in the next months that I can still study and they can do the day-to-day managing. Um, but of course, you never know if it's really gonna explode. You never know what the choices that I have to make are then. But one thing at a time. I think right now at the pace we're growing right now, I can just enough uh, make it work. Um, and if it doesn't work, and then it's problem for then it's a decision I have to make in the next year. Then handle one problem at a time. And right now, I would say
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One thing I forgot to mention: when you started Zoomers, you did that in a fully digital way, right?
yeah.
That was
So
unique.
we there is a new proposal in the law here in Belgium saying that you can like sign your contract with fully digital. And then of course when we first heard that, it was perfect for us because our we want to have the identity of being digital, of being new, being the other way that the classic agencies are. So that was of course perfect for our identity. So I really wanted to be the first company within the European Union to be founded and to be actually officially founded digitally. Then of course everything had to move so fast. I was still on vacation in France when I signed at the pool. Um, so it has to we had to start really fast because I was eager to only start in September, take things slowly and make sure everything is good now. Um, but looking back, it's been perfect because of course we had a lot of PR since the beginning because we were the first company being founded online or being started up online. And of course, this the month right now, September, when new year starts for many students, it's perfect already having some mileage before taking on new Zoomers.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, it's unfortunate, but I have to ask my last question already, and that is: do you have another inspiring guest for that could be invited for the before and after show?
Yeah, so of course they're students as well. Like not anymore. They graduated I think last year. In their last year they founded Dripple. So
Hmm.
Dribble is founded by a small team of students, and they want to revolutionize the way we drink a soda. Because right now we see a lot of mobile hubs providing tap water to offices, to public spaces. But of course, water might be boring. Um, say they want to offer mobile hubs where you can refill your bottle with healthy and tasty soda instead of water. Um, so they call it a refillition, refill instead of
Yeah,
revolution. Um, and I see the same drive I have, believing in their vision and the way things should work. They're also started up by the idea, okay, things have to change, and us as Gen Zers, we can see what the problem is. Of course, why would you buy a Coke in a can if it's empty? What's the use of the can? So why not have refill points everywhere where you can enjoy your favorite drink just with your own water bottle? So they saw that and they really believe in their revolution, and I think their story might be even more interesting. Will be even more interesting, I'll say, than mine. I really look up to the triple team.
Nice, nice, and thanks for mentioning it. I really looking forward to reach out to them and ask them to join. Thanks for that. Thanks, Jotte, for your time. Yeah, you amaze me because for me you are I'm 37. You're 21 years old, and there is so much drive and ambition. And well, the fact what I really admire is that you are making it happen already. So I'm really interested in what you are going to bring for the future and what you are going to do. Thank you for your time,
Thank you.
and let's keep in touch.
Definitely will do. Thank you so much for having me.